at least you're trying. I think that's the most important thing that everybody needs to remember, is that you might be upset with where you are. You might be upset that you're not performing the way that some other people want you to perform, or where you think that you should be performing. But I want you to reflect on this. At least you are trying, which is better than everybody else. That's what I want you to think about. So this whole reciprocity project, now I've got like 3,700 videos that I've posted just on YouTube alone. And then I also have all of this stuff that I've been building in terms of the platform. If you go on to the actual platform that I'm building, that's how it started. I was like, hey, I walked into my department chair's office one day. I was like, can I get copy editing and help on writing on a research paper? And, you know, we didn't have money, which is like the standard story that you hear a lot. So I was like, hey, I teach about this stuff. I could build this thing. So I started building it. And, you know, the journey with all of this, and by the way, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I continue ever since then. I've been investing and building this platform to solve this really tough problem where a lot of researchers, a lot of scholars kind of like lose themselves. And, you know, the writing is demotivating. It's really tough. You don't know where you're going to go. It's a feedback issue. So, you know, the message, a lot of people might look at this and sort of say, hey, you haven't really made that much progress. It hasn't really gone anywhere. And I think about that in my head a lot. Then I reflect on, at least I am trying. I don't know any other way to do this other than to get up and get going. And if there was a better way that I would be able to manage my life and my family, and as well as doing everything else around me, I would be doing it. Like, I think everybody needs to sort of think about that, is if there is better ways, I would be doing it. And I would be pursuing those better ways. But given that there's not a better way to do this, and this is the best possible way that I can do it, I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep working at it. And I want you to sort of reflect on that with other things that are going on in your own life, is that, you know, whether you're sort of judging yourself and where you are, or judging other people or judging you, I want you to reflect on, at least you're trying. You're getting up and you're doing something. And I think that's far better than everybody else. And if they were in your circumstances, the same thing, doing the same sort of, the same place, they would have the same struggles as you. And it's really fascinating because I get to see that often. I'm on the other side often I'm a professor, right? And I see that. I see like people coming in and sort of thinking that they're really confident and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is hard. And then, you know, my thing is that at least you're trying, right? Like you actually pursued it, you got up and you did it. And I want you to sort of reflect on that, is that making any change, doing anything that's real, substantial, whatever in your life is hard. It requires you to get up and to do things that you normally wouldn't do. I am a very quiet person typically. I would not normally do any of this kind of stuff. And yet I'm doing it because I need to make this happen. Why do I need to make this happen? I don't know. But I have this unbelievable desire to make this platform happen, to you know, fix this wrong that I think exists, where there's far too many people that feel disillusioned. There's far too many people in the research game where, you know, they're angry. It's not a fun experience. The whole thing is not a fun experience, and we kind of laugh it off and we shrug it off. But you know, we live in an age where we have software tools where we know how to fix some of these things, and I think I can do that. I think I can fix some of these things, at least moderately. So I want you to sort of think about this, is any time that you're doing something and you're sort of judging yourself and what your performance is and how you stand, I want you to reflect on, at least you're trying. Like, that is better than what most people can ever say. And you're that one person that's doing it. And if anybody was to say otherwise, you say, well, you do it. You try it. You see what would happen if you were to do it. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be in the same boat as you. The reason why they're not doing it and they're sort of sitting on the sidelines judging you is because they're unwilling to do it. They know what the outcome is, and so they self-select out of that particular outcome because they know how hard it's going to be. And then they judge and say how silly this actually is. And when you think about that, is like, a great analogy is to think about all of the people that would be willing to watch a sports game, a football game, sports ball, anything like that, where they would be willing to watch, and they would sit on the sidelines, and they would have all of these calculations and what people should do and all of that kind of stuff. Yet they're not trying. They're not the one that's out there. They're not the one that's on the field, right? And that's a fundamentally different equation. It's far more difficult. And the reason is that people self-select out of it because it's so challenging. I want you to sort of think about that, yeah, you might be making all of the wrong choices. You might be screwing things up. It might be, like for me, right, like doing all of this, doing videos and all of that is probably the wrong thing to do. I probably should be spending time talking to all of these investors and all of this kind of stuff. But this is what I know. This is what's on my fingertips. If I was to call investors, I would waste far more time doing that and not really getting anywhere, and there would be nothing to show for it. I've tried to do that. It doesn't work. Not in my position. It does not work. I don't have those contacts. I don't have those parents. I don't have all of those things that people typically have access to. And I want you to remember that as you go about, you do the best thing for you at this given time, and you work through that, given those endowments that you actually have. And then you think, at least I'm actually trying. At least I'm pursuing this. Nobody else is actually doing this. And, I want you to remember that as you go about your day, is you are given certain endowments. These endowments are not fair. You're born and raised in certain places, and you have certain families and all of this kind of stuff, and none of that is fair. A lot of people have more wealth than you. None of that is fair. But here's the thing. You're given those endowments, and then you have to figure out what to do with it. And so even if your endowments are not that great, at least you try. At least you get up and you pursue the thing that you need to pursue. And you just keep going at it, one day at a time. I think that's the only thing that you can ask for. So for me, I don't have all of these personal connections and all of this kind of stuff that would open up all of these doors. I'm just a lonely person that lives in the middle of nowhere that, all of this sort of basic stuff that you've heard before, the same story you've heard before. But I'm going to do the thing that actually matters, that's actually going to work for me, given my circumstance, and I keep trying. That's it. Day in and day out. At least I am trying. Better than what everybody else is doing.